everybody to the candidate forum. This is for the 2 arena seats, 1 town seat and 1 village seat for school board. So the 5 candidates at the big round table, they're all running for the town or arena seats, and the 3 candidates here are running for the Can you still hear me? Sorry. Alright, so the whole reason we're doing this is, as a village trustee, I got a lot of questions on what's going on with the school board. Alright, so unfortunately I would have to ask the candidates to come stand then when it's their turn. I didn't intend to do that, I apologize. So I got a lot of questions about what's going on, which school board candidates are running, what are they running for, what are their platforms, and I honestly can't answer that for everybody, so I set up this forum today in the hopes that every candidate that's running for all seats would have an opportunity to be heard and to be heard equally. The rules for today's forum are candidates have the floor, so I would ask that everybody please refrain from clapping or making any noise when they're talking, as that takes away from the rest of what they have to say, and we want to hear everything they have to say. Then also the candidates, when you're not speaking, please refrain from talking so we can hear the person that's talking. Second thing that will go on is we're going to start out with every candidate. It's going to be their 60-second infomercial. They're going to tell us who they are and a little bit about themselves. Then we have 5 questions that none of the candidates received ahead of time. They'll all have 3 minutes per question, and the order will rotate. And the last big item of note is everyone is to be treated with dignity and respect, so no name calling. Let's keep this light for everyone. Thank you. Oh, does anybody have any questions? All right. Oh, yes. Let's all silence our cell phones, please. Alright, so the first thing we're going to have is the 60-second infomercial, and our first person is Carl J. Nelson.
You'll have to forgive me, I need to take a few looks at my notes here while I'm talking so I remember who I am. My name is Carl Nelson. I'm the janitor at Arena Community Elementary School. Before that, I was a school bus driver for 16 years, most of that time also at Arena Elementary. After receiving my bachelor's degree in agriculture and while getting my master's degree in education at UW-River-Falls, my wife Ann and I decided to come back and make our home in the Arena community and continue my family's more than 150-year tradition of farming in the area. Now, I know I'm not the ideal candidate, and I know that some people wonder if some of my failures and shortcomings make me less qualified to be on your school board. But I believe that my imperfections mean that I have to try harder. Not only do I have to be the most knowledgeable, the most eloquent, but also the most caring and conscientious and an attentive candidate.
The next candidate is Deborah A. Nelson.
Good afternoon. I'm Deb Nelson, and my husband and I got married in 1979, and that's when I moved to the district after I had completed my bachelor's degree in agriculture. We raised 5 kids here in this great district, got involved in the school board in 1993, and my first meeting was the final cut of $300 and some thousand. The very first night I attended a school board meeting as a member, which included 5th grade band, home ec, and a bunch of other things that I didn't really have a say in. And I think this is a great district, and I hope we can continue to provide a great education for each and every one of our kids in this district, and I think we're working hard to get that done, and I hope to continue to serve you in that capacity.
Next candidate is Jeff Flint.
I have 4 children in the school district, and I have 4 children in the school district, so I see things from many perspectives. I'm also a small businessman, went through UW Business School, entrepreneurial training program. So I see things in a broader picture than simply line items on a budget. An accountant or a business manager is simply going to see line items. I see things through a different lens, and I see how seemingly insignificant things can be extremely important. Like our village elementary schools, they provide many other functions like protecting our tax base and enrollment draw. Plus, on the edges of our district, they extend our enrollment draw. If we were to actually consolidate into Spring Green, it would shorten our enrollment draw.
Our next candidate is Jim Wensler.
Because I think that the microphone will break up on me, I
Please use
believe
the
I'm
mic.
loud enough.
Please use the mic.
We can hear.
I want everybody to use the mic, please.
Can you hear me now? Okay. My name is James Wensler. I'm a candidate for school board. I've lived in the district for 20 years. I'm a property owner and a taxpayer. I'm also a 15-year professional of human resources, and I've run for the school board seat before in the past. The reason I'm running for the school board seat this time is because I would like to be part of the solution to vote to keep the schools open in all of the elementary school areas that we have now, which are in Lone Rock, Plain, Arena, Spring Green, and to make sure that we're not pitting one village against the other. I do not believe that the negative and the message that's coming out of the school board right now should continue, and I do believe that we would be able to change it together as a community rather than dividing the community amongst each other. I'm asking for the opportunity for you to listen to my questions, my answers to the questions tonight. I look forward to hearing from you afterwards as you ask me questions that you have. And thank you very much for coming tonight, this afternoon.
Our next candidate is Pamela Gogger.
Hi, my name is Pamela Gogger. I apologize for my voice. I'm battling a cold that my 4 beautiful children brought home. I went to elementary school in Lone Rock and graduated from River Valley in 2004. So I have 4 children in this district. I am also a taxpayer and a homeowner and a parent. Ultimately, my goal is to help be a part of the solution, to make sure that our district is making progress and cares for the education for each and every student. I look forward to hearing everybody's opinions, and I think together, we all have to work together to make our district stronger.
Our next candidate is Ronald Miller.
Yeah, my name is. Yes, my name is Ron Miller. I grew up in Arena, been here all my life. I were in the union for 36 years. I'm retired. The best thing that ever happened is I went to the country school in Coon Rock and then finished in Arena for elementary. And some of the greatest times was had being a child, you know. So anyway, if I'm elected candidate, I would be for the people, for the taxpayers, on what they want. I I guess that's the best thing for us, is to keep our schools open, because that is our family-oriented hub in our village. And we really need to keep our schools open because we have some of the best schools in the area. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Sierra Gilbertson Stafford.
Hello, my name is Sierra Stafford. Some people may know me as Sierra Gilbertson. That was my maiden name. Was raised in Spring Green. Graduated in 2001 from River Valley, so proud of that. Went on to college to Edgewood, got my bachelor's in sociology. So I'm about the people. I've been working in the social service field, I've been working in the social service field for about 10 years, something like that. And really I'm here because I'm fighting for my kids. I'm fighting for everybody's kids. I'm focused on keeping our schools open. I'm really passionate about it. I'm about you guys. I want to hear from you guys. I want what's important from you guys. Just really focused on making sure that we keep this about the kids and not about dollar signs. That's another thing. Social service field, it's about people staying in their homes, about people caring about people. It's not about dollar signs. And that's what I represent, is not the dollar signs. We're going to find a way to make this work. We're going to work as a team. Thanks.
Thank you. Next candidate is Kathy Jennings.
Hi, my name is Kathy Jennings. My real job is as a civil engineer. I've lived in the village of Arena for 19 years. I've got 3 kids in the district. I've been on the school board just over 3 years, and since last spring, my role has been as school board president. I've really enjoyed learning so much about the River Valley schools and building my relationships as a board member. It's truly been an honor to serve. Thank you.
All right, question number 1 is on governance. And the question is, what experience do you have with complicated budgets, and what will your process be to determine if it is a good budget for the school district? Ronald Miller is first.
Okay, what experience do I have with complicated budgets? Well, I run a truck garden, and basically I've had nothing as big as schools, but I know you have to work within your means. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way to keep these schools open. And we never had that chance to vote on that or anything like that. For determine if it's a good budget, well, I guess we gotta look at the bottom line and figure out what where we're going and what we should keep and what we shouldn't, as far as I'm concerned, I'm gonna say this right and it's gonna hurt a lot of people, but I think we have way too many administrators that are running our district. It's gotta go back to the school board. I mean, we are the ones that represent the people. And I guess, knowing that, I guess that's all I have to say is, but I will be for the people. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Sierra Gilbertson Stafford.
Complicated budgets. I kind of giggle when I hear this because I work in the social service field. Budgets is something we see that is always being dramatically cut, or that people are trying to find ways to work within the budgets they're given. So every day, 5 days a week, this is what I do. I think we do have a deficit that's hitting us really hard. And how do I know that it's going to work? How is it a good budget? It's because the way we're talking as groups. Are we happy with it? Are we going to be okay with what's coming out of this budget? It's really about us deciding what a good budget is. And I think it really comes down to teamwork. It's not about voting 9 people in and saying they can make the best decisions. It's about us working together as groups and deciding what a good budget is. So I think it's time. You know, there's numbers we haven't seen yet. So it's hard to say what that budget's going to look like. But it's about making sure we make a good budget that's going to work for all of us.
What experience do I have with complicated budgets? Just these past couple of years working on the school district, I've been on the budget committee and just being part of trying to get a handle on everything that we've had to deal with. I will not knowingly lead our district into financial straits. It takes a lot of decision making, working together with people. It's really takes some very difficult decision making, cuts that you don't want to make, but you have to. Bottom line is there are only a certain amount of dollars to work with in our budget, and we have to look at it. You can change out everybody on the board, you can change out everybody in the current administration, bring in new people, they're still going to look at the same numbers we're looking at right now. They're going to be making the same tough decisions we are right now. It's not easy, it's a matter of working together, listening to the numbers are real, and just doing what you need to do, make the best decisions you can for the whole district. Work together positively for the whole district. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Carl J. Nelson.
I guess this sums up my experience with our district's complicated budget. This is the worksheet that our district uses to come up with our budget numbers. It is, about 95 pages. And there are literally thousands and thousands of line items in here, not different ones, but on different pages, and it comes down to being able to put these numbers together and just being able to use your imagination to see how these numbers work relative to one another. Now, that being said, my approach to working with that is it's got to be a balanced approach. We are facing some really tough times here. Even with closing these schools, we're still going to have a budget gap to close. And the approach that I favor is, I think, a more balanced one than our current school board has gone through. I don't believe that closing these schools is going to be the long-term solution that we're looking for. Now, some of the things I might throw out there for solutions are another referendum, program cuts, staff reductions. You know, those things all have to be on the table, and that's what it's got to start with. Everything's got to be on the table. And all of you together are going to have to help whoever is on the board come up with the solutions that we're going to need for that very complicated budget. I mean, it's hard for any one person or any 9 people to understand, but thousands and thousands of people in this community, we can come up with a solution that works and that works for everyone. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Deborah A. Nelson.
Okay, now it is. Okay. Complicated budgets. A school district budget is so different than a budget that any one of us deals with on a day-to-day basis. There's so many things that go into it, the number of students that are here, the state revenue limits, and over the years, our board has worked really hard to look at the numbers and try and look at the programs that we offer and make sure that we are offering all of our kids the best programming we can for the dollars we have to spend. And unfortunately, our dollars are becoming more and more limited, and there are just so many things you can cut before you have to start cutting programs. And I don't want to go into the middle school and high school now after we've already made cuts in those buildings as far as we really should go and start cutting extracurriculars, music, band, things like that. Okay. And, I don't want to go into the high school and tell kids we can't have music, we can't have art, we have to cut back on some of the business classes we offer, the advanced placement classes that our kids are going to college with, and having college credits when they get there. So unfortunately, we're in a time where we can't afford to keep 4 partially full elementary schools operating 6 kitchens in this district, and it's a hard decision. I don't want to see it happen, but it comes to the point where there isn't anything left to look at when it comes to budgets. And with regard to administrators, I refuse to let us cut any more administrators because we need those people there to help us run the district. They're the experts that we rely on day in and day out to help the board because we're not experts in education and what's out there. So it's hard to budget because things change up until the day that we publish that budget in November, and come November 2nd, something can change. All it takes is the need for one-on-one aid in a special ed department. It's something that comes up that the state says we have to do, and it's a hard thing to do, and it's complicated. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Jeff Flint.
My experience would be in business as a businessman and as a small businessman, a small operator, you see every aspect of the business, from hiring, firing, working with employees. I wrote our own procedure manuals or policy manuals. When I'm active was active in the Greater Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, I would get input from other business leaders. So you see, as a small businessman, you can't hire accounting departments, and you can't hire a bunch of people. So you're in it, and you see every aspect of it and how those different aspects relate to your greater goal of staying in business. So as far as complicated budgets, it depends on what your goals are. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And often in business, you find, and the school is simply a business, an organization, just like anything else. It's got revenue and everything else. You want to protect your revenue generators and your customers. And we have customers in the school district. And we have revenue. And it comes from our property tax base, and it comes from enrollment numbers. State and federal is for enrollment probably about 43%, something like that. And about 51% of our revenue comes from the property tax base. Now imagine if you destroy your communities, Arena, Lone Rock, and Plain, and lower their property values. Now you've just shot your revenue in the foot. Imagine what's going to happen because Mazomanie is about 5 miles from here. Imagine when you've got upset parents at the loss of their school, the predictable loss of their property value. And imagine what's going to happen when they have a choice of busing their kids all the way to Plain or to Spring Green, or they could go 5 miles down to a much more child and parent-friendly district in Mazomanie. That loss of enrollment will mean loss of revenue. And in business, you find that you need to invest in areas if you want to grow the business, grow our enrollment, grow our tax base. If you want to grow in revenue, you need to invest, not cut. And so keeping that in mind, I think, talking about complicated budgets, they're all the same. The thing you have to keep your eye on is where's the ball? What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? And you have to increase your revenue. And you have to serve your customers. And that's where we should put money. I would actually invest in Arena, even if we had to make it bigger. I would invest in Lone Rock. I would have an economic development plan. That would increase our property values and it would draw enrollment. Imagine.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Jim Wensler.
First, I want to make myself very clear that I would vote to keep the elementary schools open. I'm going to say it every time I get a question, just so that no one's confused of what my goal is when I'm first elected. The second thing is my experience with complicated budgets has been 15 years in human resources. I currently serve on the board of directors for the State Laboratory of Hygiene, where we have a $43 million budget. And within that budget, we have to look at what our revenue streams are, the services that we provide, and the customers we provide the service to. The items that I'm going to look at is to make sure to follow in making sure that each of the communities keep their elementary schools, and then investing with the village boards and working with them to make sure that we grow the communities so that we have the additional families moving to the communities and we're becoming a draw. I do not believe that we should sacrifice Lone Rock, Plain, and Arena just for the betterment of one town, which may be Spring Green. It is not in the best interest because all of us are in the same district. It's important for us all to understand that we look at different things from a different point of view. I understand that Kathy and Deb have looked at the numbers and they've come up with the solutions and they've proposed them to you, which are to vote to close the schools. I will look at the numbers from a different point of view, not only to vote to keep the schools open, but to look at the different ways that the numbers come together. How much we spend on busing, how much we spend on the repairs that we do, the way that we do the repairs, the way that we buy our health insurance, where we buy our health insurance from. There are different ways of looking at it for a different solution. My way of looking at it is just different from the incumbents. I hope I have the opportunity to prove to you the different way of looking at things, keeping the schools open, and then the priorities that I put together and how I will come up with a good budget will be based on two items. What is good for each community, Plain, Lone Rock, Arena, and Spring Green, and then as the representative of Area 2, what the Area 2 residents decide is good for the budget. Those are the two areas that I will use to make decisions voting as your representative on the school board. Thank you very much.
Our last candidate for this question is Pamela Gauger.
Hello. I have a bachelor's in business administration, and I've worked for my husband's family company part-time or full-time in some ventures since 2003. Family business, a small business, has a whole new set of budget concerns than a school budget. I'm not going to say that I understand every line on that budget, but I will promise you that I will do my best to learn, and I will ask questions. And primarily, my focus will be to go into asking questions on what will give our kids the best education. That's my perspective. I want to look at everything through what option allows our kids to have the best education possible. So I'm not afraid to work, and I believe that there has to be a balance. I have to ask questions about the budget. The people in this area want to learn more about the budget. I've heard from a lot of people that they don't know those numbers, or they want to know those numbers and they want to know more about it. And I'm willing to assist with that. But I truly think my perspective would be to go into looking at the budget on what is able to provide all the kids in our district with the best education possible.
Just a housekeeping, when you're done, please be sure to pass the next candidate. So that everybody has a chance, maybe can you refresh everything?
All right. Our next topic is performance, outcomes, and equity. The question is, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in this district? In your view, what has the district done well over the last 5 years? What has the district done poorly that you would change? Deborah Nelson is first.
Okay, opportunities and challenges. We have an awesome staff in this district that really gives us an opportunity to provide a really good education for our kids. They care about the kids. And there are opportunities out there that we need to look at to give our kids a leg up in this world, because things are changing so fast with what they need to know and where they're going to end up. Challenges are our declining enrollment. We've been talking about declining enrollment for a long time. I happened to come across the questions that the Home News sent me 6 years ago, and one of those questions asked about declining enrollment then. And our population study shows that we are declining. And it makes a challenge. And the other challenge that I see for our district is dealing with the state and what they tell us we can and can't do, and how much money they want to provide us, and in those things. What has the district done well over the last 5 years? We've worked hard to provide the kids with an equal and awesome education, and we've worked hard to spend the taxpayer dollars, their dollars, wisely. It's not just the village or the township arena that I have to answer to. I have to answer to every taxpayer in this district, because every taxpayer votes for the school board members. And we've worked hard over the years to keep our budget in line. And what has the district done poorly that I would change? I think the one thing that, and I know I have another school board member that would agree with me, we have a tendency to kick the can down the road and wait. Things might get better, and we can't count on our state to make it better, and we have to look at it ourselves, and we have to all pull together in Beaver River Valley and look out what's best for our kids. Sometimes it is a hard decision to make as to what really is better, and we just need to work together to get that done.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Jeff Flint.
As far as opportunities, I actually think we're sitting on a gold mine here. You've got American Players Theater, you've got House in the Rock Resort, you have Wisconsin River, you have a very well-developed art community, performance community, music, and it's simply squandered. I just can't say it any other way. We don't market and brand the school district. I've got a book over there on the table that's called How to Market Your School District. Everybody keeps talking about declining enrollment, and I have yet to ever hear anybody say what we are supposed to be doing, which is branding and marketing the school district. Like I said, this is one of the best places in the world to live, and you wouldn't know it by the way the school board and the school administration market our district, which, in my opinion, has been negative marketing, which is our big problem right now. We have a lot of upset people, and that has to stop. And it won't stop with the way things are going. As far as opportunity, I'm amazed at the way the school, and I've lived here over 20 years. The school district has been run the same comfortable way for decades. We have a configuration, the K-5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12 configuration is an old and very expensive configuration. We do have half-full facilities, but the answer is not to shut down all your elementary schools and consolidate into Spring Green. I would better utilize those facilities. And so what we should be doing is taking that middle school, because everything I read about middle schools is bad. They are not good for kids. And the big wave right now is K-8, like we used to teach when Ron went to school. That is what's hot. 6th and 7th graders do way better in an elementary setting than they do in a middle school setting. So I would take that opportunity to use that middle school as a career school, vocational, technical school, partner with Southwest Tech, Richland Tech, MATC. MATC always shows up on your property tax bill. You're already paying something for it. We should lease that sucker out for $1 and then say to people, if you maintain it, fix it, and pay for the heat, you got it for $1. And that would turn that thing into an asset, wouldn't cost us a dime. And we could still retain it, because after it's all fixed up and wonderful in a civic center, whatever, that's what I would do with that. So we have a lot of opportunities here. I think, like I said, I think we're sitting on a gold mine. It's just squandered. Declining enrollment, marketing, branding.
Thank you. Next candidate is Jim Wensler.
The opportunities and challenges we have, one of the items that's being done poorly is we have poor communication between the school board, the staff, and the residents of the district in which they serve. We also have school board members that believe that even though they come from one area, that they need to represent all of the different areas. They don't. They need to represent the area in which they are elected from, and even though the election is from the entire district, they come from Area 2 or Area 1 in regards to the panel of individuals up here running. My job as your school board representative is to make sure that I'm taking the information that you give me from Area 2, the township, and representing it to the other 8 members of the school board, and doing it in a way where I don't get shut down. I make sure that the opinion of the residents who live here is tactfully and detailed given to the rest of the board members. The good things that we do is that we have residents in this district that care greatly about the schools that they have. And I want to be an individual who's going to vote to keep your elementary schools open. It's very important that all of us make sure that we sit down and we work with each other. We have companies that are within our district that can offer rates for repair that are different from what we've been receiving bids on. We need to keep in mind that my job is to represent the individuals of Area 2. I understand that it's a different opinion from the incumbents on the board. I understand that I'm different from the incumbents on the board. But I'm also an individual who's not here for a popularity contest. I will come and knock on your door and tell you what's going on with your budget and what the decisions are that the board has made, and then I will ask you, what do you want me to do when I go back? And I talk to the other 8 members of the board, and we're trying to figure out a decision. What I have learned when I've been campaigning and knocking on doors is that we want to keep our elementary schools, and I will vote to keep the elementary schools open, and then I will go through the budget with the individual representatives within my district, the Area 2, because there's a lot more smart people. It's not just the district staff. It's the people who live in Area 2 and Area 1 and all the different areas within the district. And I bet you they're smarter than just the individuals on the school board and the individuals in the district. And I'm going to ask you for your help, and I'm going to ask you to guide me and to represent you on the board. Thank you very much.
Our next candidate is Pamela Gogger.
Opportunities in our district, I agree with marketing our district a little bit better. But I would argue that we should market it in a positive manner on things that we're already doing well. I think that sometimes there's too much focus on the negative, and I think there are wonderful things in every single school that need to be shared. As far as challenges, of course, we have declining enrollment, a difficult budget, and ultimately, we don't know what the future holds. Politics play a factor, budgets play a factor. There are a lot of factors and differing opinions. Those are big challenges that we face. Things that we do well. I send my kids to school every day and know that they are loved. That those teachers they spend time with love them just as much as me. For example, my daughter is building a robot, and I assure you I did not do that in 4th grade. I don't think I could do that now. So we have amazing teachers and loving environments in our schools. An opportunity for improvement would be to give the public more of an opportunity to be involved. Whether that's whoever the candidates are voted in have meetings. We rotate meetings from community to community. Lots of different options there where we have an opportunity. For example, I receive calendars from 2 different schools, The school board meeting is only on one of them, not the other. Maybe it would be more beneficial if it's on all of them, so everybody has an opportunity to go to meetings and be involved. But with that, everybody has to take your responsibility to get involved, to share your opinion, to talk to your representative, and do your best to be positive in what could easily become a very negative situation.
Our next candidate is Ronald Miller.
As opportunities, I feel we have a big challenge to keep our enrollment up. And it's going to be hard because as parents, we have a lot of choices. Homeschool, private schools, and to take our kids to a different district. And online. There are a lot of kids going online now. And there is a lot of pissed off parents out there that will do that. And it's just sad that we can't keep our schools open like there's, trying to close them because it's our family. It's the best thing for young kids ever to keep them in, as young as they can, I mean, we just need to keep our kids so that, kids ought to be able to play and be kids as long as they can. And if we close Lone Rock School, we will lose at least 50 kids the first year. And I'm sure when we close arena schools, we're going to lose another 100. Now, what is River Valley going to do with 150 kids gone out of the school district? I feel in 10 years, the whole school system will be done. I mean, sorry to say, but they're shooting themselves in the foot by closing these little schools because our parents want them schools open, and it's the best family-related thing you can have in a village, township, or wherever. We need these schools really bad. So, about poorly, well, have they thought of that? Have they really thought out 5-10 years? And another thing, if we have to borrow the money to keep these schools open for the next 5 years, let's borrow that money and see where we are in 5 years. Let's not stick up a $40 million new school and say, oh, here's your complex, No, that ain't right at all. We, the taxpayers, should have the vote. And I will represent us taxpayers to keep our schools open forever. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Sierra Gilbertson Stafford.
Opportunities. One of the things that I think about opportunities is when I started in the PALS group and started attending is the amount of people who really care, who's showing up to these meetings, who's putting forth their time and their energy to find solutions to what's going on. This is an opportunity for the school board that is sitting in front of us to start taking advantage of that. There's a lot of smart people who are coming to these, who are fighting. It is not young kids, it is all across the board. We need to start taking advantage of that. We need to stop figuring 9 people are going to find the solution to our problems. Challenges. I think that is a challenge. We have school board members who aren't listening. They're hearing these ordinances go through these communities and they're not seeing them. They're not hearing them. They're not listening to what you are telling them. And we need to start taking that over. We need to not give the administration an opportunity to make decisions for us. We need to ask for 1 option, 2 options, 3 options, and not to just listen to the first ones. I hate public speaking. I'm sorry. If you were to ask me these things on my own, I could do this. I hate it. Oh my goodness. If anybody was in my seat, they'd probably be the same, right? 5 years. I don't know. I don't have a magic ball. Where are we going to see us in 5 years? Gosh, I hope in a better position. I hope we're not sitting here and fighting these same issues that we've been looking at for 10 years. It angers me to think this has been a 10-year issue and this is where we're at. This is the best solution that we have, is to close our elementary schools after 10 years of reviewing this. How? How did that happen? And that's what we really need to focus on, is really making some changes, really listening to the people, really giving them opportunities to fight. We got a lot of smart people in this room. We need to start taking advantage. So I don't know where we'll be in 5 years, but I hope better than here.
Our next candidate is Kathy Jennings.
Challenges. A big one is the declining enrollment. And really the state isn't helping. They really have our hands tied. A lot of times I feel people are getting angry at the wrong people. It's so easy to get angry at the school board. But I challenge everybody to contact our representatives. I have a great website if you don't know who your representatives are. I love that everybody's here being involved today. Let's make some noise over where it counts too. Let's be heard. I'm just one voice. Let's all contact our representatives if we can. Also, a challenge is providing our education within this limited budget. I would love all these people to show up at a school board meeting. I'd love you to listen to the conversations we have, the questions that we do ask our administration. We have some pretty healthy and robust conversations. It doesn't mean we always agree on everything, but those questions are asked and answered at these meetings. And they are actually kind of interesting. One thing that we're doing well, I think we're keeping up with technology with our kids. We've got RV TV, which is fantastic. A lot of schools don't have that. We've got the RV app, Chromebooks. A thing we're doing poorly, I'd have to say, retaining our teachers. They got a pretty poor raise last year, and it seems like that's the first place we tend to cut. And I think we need to make a commitment to our teachers that we're not going to touch that we need to tell them, we've got your back, you're important, you're the heart of our school, and I think we need to make a commitment to our teachers. Thank you.
Question?
Well, obviously, the biggest problem or challenge we're going to be facing is the budget issue. I mean, we're looking at a $3.3 million budget shortfall, even with closing these elementary schools over the next 5 years. And the elementary savings would be about $4.3 million. So we're looking at about a $7.6 million shortfall altogether. But therein lies the opportunity, because problem solving together is what brings communities together, and having everyone involved brings people together. These are not new problems, and they're certainly not new conflicts. But, like I said, working on these problems together, being as inclusive as we possibly can, that's the opportunity. We may not get rid of these old conflicts altogether, but they need a good long nap. The things that our district is doing well, we have a staff that I wouldn't trade for anything. And we have administrators who are dedicated and capable public servants. But when I look at some things that are not done so well, I ask questions. There are needs in this district that I know that are going unmet for any number of reasons. For example, in our special ed department, do we have enough space for them? Do we have enough aides for them? I know the budget constraints dealing with that issue particularly, but I think if we elect a school board member who has been in every room, in every building, and understands how these buildings work on a day-to-day basis, then I think we can inject some some really good knowledge into this 9-member board who doesn't have the opportunity to do things that I get to do and that see things that I get to see. Thank you.
Okay. Our next topic is transparency. Question is, what kinds of school district information should be made public? What specific steps would you take as a school board member to improve transparency and make school district information more widely available? How would you communicate your work to constituents? And Sarah Gilbertson Stafford is first.
All right. What kinds of school district information should be made public? Well, to be really honest with you, I don't know what the logistics of that is, what can and cannot be legally presented out, but I can tell you whatever legally can be is what we need to be presenting to people. So that's where my first step would be, is to see what can be legally done. How would I make those steps to make that information transparent to others? So basically, so you understand it. Technology has been a really good way for us to communicate, so I think we need to keep doing that, you know. Videotaping these board meetings so people who can attend can watch it via TV. I also believe, like I said, these meetings, these PAL meetings I've been going to, what a great opportunity for us to really talk about these things. So I think meeting with people is another really good way. How would you communicate your work? Like I said, it's the same kind of the lingo, is really getting down there and talking with people. You know, people have different ways of communication. Parents who are extremely busy, you know, emails and texts and online stuff is the way their fast-paced life goes. Some people at the other end of the spectrum, they really want to see you face to face. They really want to talk to you. They want to be able to see your emotions. Sometimes that's hard to see through an email. I can't see how their facial expressions are or how their emotions are. So I think it's like you have to find the best way to communicate based off of what people are asking of you. So that is my response. Next person is...
The next candidate is Kathy Jennings.
What kinds of school district information should be made public? As much as possible, certainly not personnel decisions, but yeah, whatever can be available. And I think we've got a really good website. It just got revamped this year. All the school board contact information is on there. If you ever need to contact your school board numbers, emails, phone numbers are on there. The steps I would take as a school board member to improve transparency. Like I said, we have a lot of information on our website. I'm always available for phone calls, emails. I actually like to get more phone calls and emails than I have been receiving lately. People want information, and I feel like I'm available. Several people have called me, and I've met with several people that have wanted meetings. I feel like I'm very available. And how would I communicate my work to constituents? Talking, meeting, emailing. Come to meetings. We're there to talk before, after, during. I'd love to see you. I'd love to see this kind of turnout at every meeting. So, like I said, I feel like I'm very available and I'm always willing to talk to anyone who's got questions and would like to chat about anything. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Carl J. Nelson.
Well, what kinds of school district information should be made public? As everyone, I think, has said so far, as much as is legally possible. One of the proposals that I would make, if elected, would be to put essentially a general ledger on the district's website so people could see in real time where money is going, how it's moving, because I know that there are a lot of, I won't say accusations, but suggestions made that this money is not being spent, or it's at least not being accounted for in a totally open and honest fashion. And maybe that would lay some of these suggestions to rest. And I guess that would be one step I would take to improve transparency. How would you communicate your work to the constituents? Any way possible. Call me, email me. I'm at the Arena Community Elementary School from 6 in the morning till 5 o'clock most evenings, so you can find me there too. I guess that's about all I have to say about that question. Again, as much information as possible. There's no such thing, I don't think, as too much.
Our next candidate is Deborah A. Nelson.
I guess like everybody's saying, everything we can legally put out there, we should be putting out there. But I did some search on the internet, looking at some other school districts and their district websites. River Valley outshines everyone with the amount of information that we put out there. I was surprised at reading some of the minutes from meetings in other districts that really didn't talk about much. basically said, this is what we did, and this is, you know, what happened, and that's about it. But we try to work hard at doing that.
Can you hang on for a second? Can you silence your phone, please?
The information is there, and don't be afraid to ask. It's always available. And communicating our work to the constituents, I would love to talk to people as long as I don't come in the house at 4:30 in the afternoon before a board meeting when I need to make my husband supper and I have nasty voicemails on my phone. So be polite when you ask, because I would be more than happy to share. This is a tough decision for all of us, and it hurts when you get yelled at on your voicemail instead of somebody just asking, why did you vote the way you did? Instead of saying that, they tell me, well, this is how you should have voted, instead of asking me for reasons why I did it. And how many of you came to the annual meeting this year in October? Is the one gentleman that was there in the room? You were not at the annual meeting, were you? You were the only person that came to the annual meeting. I'm just saying that please. Okay, and I know, he was the only person in our district that came to the annual meeting other than school district employees and people the school board. So please come to those things and hear the budget. Because we go through that every year, and we're basically preaching to the choir when we do that at the annual meeting. The school board meetings are the second Thursday of every month. Please come to them, because we as a board, I talk to other board members around the state when I go to the state education convention. What do you mean you have public comments? Well, yeah, we let the people talk before the meeting starts, or at the beginning of the meeting. We have always had, in the 24 years I've been on the board, we have always allowed, if someone has a question when we're discussing something, they raise their hand and we answer their questions or let them make comments. Most boards don't even do that. So I think River Valley does a good job, but you gotta also take some of the responsibility yourselves and ask those questions and come to the board or call the board members. I haven't received a lot of emails or calls over this whole thing.
Our next candidate is Jeff Lint.
As far as what information should be made available, as everyone said, everything should be, other than employment, employee relations, employee decisions, those things that go into closed sessions about. I do kind of take issue with something that Deb Nelson said. I have a book from the National Association of School Boards that outlines how you do community engagement, which is something I would say we don't do at all. And if you read that, you're quite amazed at just how badly things are. So I would take something as simple as that and implement it. A couple of years ago, one of the board members got it approved to videotape the school board meetings. That should be streamed on the internet, live in some way, shape, or form. We have RVTV that isn't used. I don't even know what our budget is for community engagement. If you look over on the table there as well, there's all kinds of informational things that school districts do. So I would say we're doing a horrifically bad job of it here. We do not inform parents. We are not sending things home. And if you can just simply make a comment at a school board meeting, that really doesn't help. If you can engage your school board members, that's another thing. And there should be some sort of, you could have call-in program where people could call in. This is not 1975 anymore. People should be able to email questions in. And the school board members, they should take a period of time, I would think, and address that. Now, that's not required, but that's what I would do. That kind of engagement and information is essential to parents. You can stick things in a child's backpack, all kinds of things. I've got something right here I'm looking at, which is actually the referendum facts from 2010. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here about what we did back in 2010. When you look at, I work with former school board members, and some of them keep their stuff, like the budgets and the audit reports, and what happened back then, where the population of this school district, probably 2 to 1, said no to hub schools, which is why we have the stealth hub school plan right now, which is what I would call it. We did engage the community, and if you want to take a look at it, it's right up here. All kinds of things, focus groups, getting people involved, sending information out, you name it. Now that was actually done in 2010, now that was 7 years ago. This time around it was, here's the meeting, you got a 2-day notice, and we're closing your schools. That's because they already know. They already know, it's right there.
Our next candidate is Jim Wensler.
When it comes to transparency, clearly I agree with the other candidates that we need to make sure that we utilize the website to put up the budget information, the general ledger information, the minutes of the board meetings, and then hopefully recordings of the board meetings. But one of the items that's very important is that we need to also, as a board, instruct the district staff that when people from the district come into the district office, that they're given the answers that they request and that they understand fully what it is that they're reading online. The district staff not only serves the school board and the teachers, but it also is there as a resource so that when you as a resident comes in, you feel welcome. You feel encouraged to come in, to ask questions, to get those answers so that when you go back home and you talk to your families around the kitchen table, you understand why something is on the ledger the way it is, why something was billed out, etc. So I think it's the board's responsibility to instruct the district staff to also continue to communicate and give an understanding as to why things are on the general ledger that they are. I do understand that some of the board members feel a little defensive because of however they've been treated and what's been going on in the community. And from my perspective, if I was on the board, I would never talk down to you. I would never look at you as though you need to come to the board meeting because my time is more important than yours and I think you need to show up and hear what I have to say. I just have a different perspective. I believe it's my responsibility to come out to your house, to knock on your door, and then during a time that's convenient for you to discuss with you around your kitchen table what's going on with the school board. And I've done that with residents in this room. They've seen me in their homes, and I want to continue to do that as your board representative. It is not your responsibility or requirement to come to a board meeting. It is my responsibility and it is my requirement, if I'm going to stand up here and be judged by you, to come to your homes and make it convenient for you to hear why I did what I did and what's going on. It's also important that I represent Area 2. If I'm elected to replace the incumbent, my responsibility is to represent the residents in this area, the township of Arena. I understand that the entire district votes on who represents Area 2, but the resident from Area 2 is the one who's running for Area 2 and needs to make sure that they represent Area 2 on the board. There are 8 other board seats that will be represented by their areas. My job is to represent you. Also, when you look at the board meetings themselves, I would arrange the agenda so that the individuals who do show up are entitled to talk about the topic that's on the agenda at that moment and not just force everyone into the public comment section where you have to talk at the beginning of the board meeting and then 17 steps later on the agenda you actually talk about the subject in which you had your public comments on. I also do not believe in strict time restraints. I understand that they're valuable at times when people repeat themselves or they're saying the same thing over and over. But if you have something intelligent to say, it's not my job to interrupt you. Thank you very much.
Our next candidate is Pamela Gauger.
Okay. Like everyone, I also agree that anything that can be made public should be. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. We have wonderful technology resources, and I think we could use them a little bit better. As far as how I would communicate to constituents, I would be willing to have monthly meetings, maybe here or go into the village meetings or the township meetings and ask those people who were elected officials already what they're interested in. I would be willing to sit here maybe on a Sunday morning and have whoever wants to come in and talk to me, come in and talk to me. I think it's important that everybody be able to ask their questions and know that they'll be answered and that they'll be answered. I have questions too. I'm in the same boat as many of you. Any challenge or any reconfiguration or any decisions, I have lots of the same questions that you do, and we all have different perspectives. So maybe you have a question that I didn't think about, and that needs to be considered. So I do think that our district can be a little better in transparency, but I do think that ultimately I, as a parent, have to talk to administrators and teachers and school board members if I have a concern directly.
Our final candidate for this question is Ronald Miller.
Well, a lot of us don't have all the technology, we don't. And I think that any important questions, I think the school board can figure out what people don't have this technology should be sending a paper home with our kids, that, hey, we want to find out everything too. But as far as technology goes, it's the greatest asset we have, I guess. I don't believe in all of it, but anyway, my greatest asset is common sense. I didn't graduate from a university. I went to the University of Arena for 8 years, but I learned a lot, and common sense will overtake the books as far as I'm concerned, because hands-on experience. And as far as communication, yes, it's great, but like I said, we don't all have it. But the best thing, our kids, they come home and tell you what's going on, what's the new problem in school and things like that. So it's just one of them things, that we need to get all the information just like everybody with technology. I'm sure the school board can figure out who don't have all the technology and get it to us properly, So, like I said, my greatest asset is common sense, and I'm here for keeping the schools open. Thank you.
Our next topic is independence of thoughts and actions. The question reads, do you see yourself primarily as a representative of the community or as a representative of the school system? What are the factors on which you will base your decisions as a school board member? The first person will be Jeff Flint.
That's a tough one, but I agree that I would be representing, the reason that we have different areas is so that one member can represent that area. And I would represent this community. And I think this is kind of a question I heard. That's why I'm kind of trying to think of another question that was a possible one. But I would do what the people want. Now, if I actually thought that what the community, the consensus in the community was not what I thought would be a good idea, then I would feel that it would be incumbent upon me to make sure that I talk to them, explain it to them, and in the end, though, after taking that responsibility to do it, I would defer to the wisdom of the masses, because that's what I think it is. That's what our country is based on. It's not an elite. It's based on the wisdom of the masses. That's how our Constitution, we the people, not we the elite. So that's how I would do that. Let's see, specific. How I would base my, factors I would use to base my decisions on, it would be my experience. It would be in business, you've got to have good data. So I would always want to see it from as many angles as possible. That's why you need to include as many people as possible. Even somebody that has, like Ron said, maybe they just graduated from 3rd grade. I don't care. That view on a problem can really make you think, and that's what's called real collaboration. Something we don't have right now. Right now we've got a top-down, somebody wants something, and they're going to get it no matter what because they're in power. What I would do, collaboration, is listening to everyone and taking in all of those different viewpoints. Because I'll tell you, I've had it happen many times before in business where you've got it all figured out, you've researched it, you've got all the numbers, you think you've got it great, and you talk to somebody who doesn't know a whole lot about it, and they give you a whole nother earful, and you go, huh, that's an idea. And so you may not do exactly what they said, but it made you change what you're doing. And that's how I would base my decision. Again, I run it just like a business, like my business, like I've been doing for 30 years. I do it like that. I would use good common sense, good business sense, and I would listen to people because I know that even if somebody doesn't have a degree in astrophysics, they still can have a very, very valuable viewpoint, and it will make you think. And that's exactly what we need to do, is think about this thing from every different viewpoint. And the more angles you get on a problem, I found that in business, the more angles you got on it, the better. If you just got the administration's little, we want to do this and we want a new office and all this kind of stuff, that's all you're going to see. But you start including as many people as possible with real engagement and real community engagement, really actually finding out what people want and need. And for example, everybody in this room knows exactly why it's a bad idea to close that school. You know it just from living here. You pay taxes, you work with the business. Look at what Grandma Mary's doing right here. She's not getting paid for this. That's how important our businesses are. People don't really realize that, but you do internally. You may not be able to say that in a way that sounds really fancy, but you know it. And that's why everybody in here, I'm sure, knows that it would be the stupidest thing on the world to close those elementary schools. Can't get any dumber. And everybody knows it. Now, you may not be able to go 30 rounds with Wormuth, but you know it. And you know what you know, and you understand. You pay the taxes, you work in the businesses, you're running around, you live here, you know.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Jim Wensler. Is the question up there, Jim? We're number 4.
But it was a long question. I was looking for shorter questions.
Is it too long?
For independents, my job, as I've repeated earlier, is to vote, if I'm elected, to keep the elementary schools open for Lone Rock and Arena, and to make sure that none of the elementary schools are closed unless we put it to a referendum and you, the residents, decide that you want to close those schools. That would be your choice. It would not be a 9-member board's choice. When it comes to the transparency part of being independent, I may have a decision, or I may have to make a difficult decision, but it won't surprise you. It will be something that you will have heard, you'll have seen in the newspaper, I'll have written a letter to the editor, I'll have come and knocked on your doors, I'll have done community, I'll have sent you emails. Even if you disagree with me, I would prefer that you communicate with me. Even if it's an angry voicemail message. I'll take an angry voicemail message and caller ID so I can call you back and at least explain why I did what I did, and to give you that feedback. If I'm running for school board and I'm a public official, if you feel that my rear end should be chewed, then I've done something that has earned that honor and that privilege. It is my responsibility to then reply to that in a calm and straightforward manner to explain why I did what I did, because I've done something where the communication broke down and you were surprised by it. If I do my job right, you will not be surprised by any of the decisions that I make as your school board representative representing Area 2. It's also something that's very important and dear to my heart as the reason why I'm running for school board. I don't know if that question is going to be asked, and I'm getting ahead of it. But it's very important for this community to understand that you are very important. The schools are important to you. This is why we have so many candidates running for school board, because the decisions that were made were not the ones that apparently a large majority of individuals agreed with. The reason I want to run for the school board is because I want to take a long-term view to not only keep the elementary schools open, but to work with the individual villages and communities to make sure that they're healthy and that we correct the budget and that we have a healthy budget over time. It's not going to magically happen where we slice, I think Carl said, $7 million from the budget and we move forward. It's going to take time, and it's going to take the long view. I have run for this seat before. I have looked at the numbers and I have looked at the outcome, and I believe that I have an opportunity here to serve you and to give you those answers over time so that there are no surprises. I hope that I have that opportunity, and I thank you for coming out again tonight because I know it's not easy on a Sunday. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Pamela Gauger.
I see myself as a representative of this area. I realize across the district and even in our area, there are really divided issues and multiple opinions. And my job would be to get those opinions. You need to tell me if you're for or against, or if you have another idea. That's where the power of the people comes into play. And I think that's really important. And that would be something, excuse me, that I would really work hard on. No matter the format, whether it's using technology or having breakfast with you, or though your opinion matters, and that everybody's opinion deserves a chance to be heard and to be listened to. I will not waver from my perspective that I do think that the education of all the kids in our district, not just the kids in Area 2, should be of utmost importance. What are the factors on which you'll base your decisions as a school board member? Again, those are those opinions that you guys give me. I don't know what you think unless you tell me, and you might not tell me until I ask. These are challenging, really hard situations and decisions that we're making, but you have to tell me, and I'm okay with that. You might not agree with me, but we can still have a really good conversation about it. So I guess that's where I come from. I believe I will represent Area 2 on the school board, but I need your opinions, and I will ask for them.
Our next candidate is Ronald Miller.
Well, I guess I am probably the best, I mean, not the best, but I mean, one of the, sorry for words. Yeah, for as far as a candidate for school board, I am, like I said again, I'm for the people, and I will make the best decision with the information I have, and I will ask, I guess, is it on? Oh, and I would go out to the public and talk to everybody I can to see what's in their best interest, and we all know what's in our best interest, but we got to do what's best for us, and as far as I'm concerned, it's keeping the schools open. I got a letter from Sandy Pope. I don't know if all of you know who Sandy Pope is, and she graduated from Marina. She's alumni from Marina, and she graduated from River Valley School, and she congratulated me for sticking up for the schools, because she says there probably will be money, from Governor Walker. We'll have to wait and see. There'll be more money put in the school funds, but she was very happy with me running because I was asked to run. I mean, because nobody else was running. So, but yeah, the best thing is to keep our schools open. We all know that, because if we don't have our schools, the villages die, our taxes go up, and that's the way it will be. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Sierra Sierra Gilbertson Stafford.
Okay, so I'm a mother, and I always follow my gut, because that's what mothers do. And anyone who's a mother and anyone who lives with a mother around you knows when mom's not happy, no one's happy. And so my philosophy is really simple. It's me following my gut as a parent. I want the best for our children. I want the brightest future. I want to make sure that when my kids walk across that stage at 18, that I have given them every single tool that I could possibly give them to make sure that their future is as bright as possible. But it's going to take all of us, and that's what I keep reminding you is that little guy over there who's burping. You know, the reality is we have to give him a future, and we can't sit here and look over numbers and think that that's the best way to make these decisions. It's really about hearing about what we as a community coming together to find these solutions. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but really the decisions, the factors that base on the decisions of the school board is really based off of us as a community. It's about us working together. Nobody's going to always be happy, but it's about compromise. And I think that's the biggest thing, is we have to find a way to compromise. I may not get 100% of what I'm looking for, but I want to get at least 50. And keeping these schools open is my 50. I'm going to have to put another 50 in to make this happen. But I'm standing here today, losing my voice and shaking because I'm devoted to find that 50% and to put my 50 in there. And I think that's why everyone here is standing here. They want to put their 50% in. And we need to start doing that. We need to start giving you voices and giving you options to fight for this.
Our next candidate is Kathy Jennings.
Hi. I see myself as representing my area, and when I make my decisions and my votes, I do have to think of the district as a whole. People I listen to people who contact me, I try to talk to people, meetings. I do listen to the administration. One thing I'm not sure if everybody is aware of, but Tom Wormuth was a 2016-17 Rural Administrator of the Year. Not too shabby. We're working with some quality people. Just because I listen to them doesn't mean I always agree with them. We have lots of conversations. We don't always agree. But they are, and our teachers, I like to listen to our teachers, talk to them, administrators, people. Just the more conversations we can have, the more information I can get from you, the more your concerns are, the better decisions I can make. I go to a lot of committee meetings to get information. I want our River Valley to be a destination. I want it to be a great school. We have to make some tough decisions. I want our education in the middle school and high school to be as good as it possibly can be. I want all our schools to be great schools. I want to promote a positive atmosphere. We need to make decisions. We need to talk together in a positive way. That's the only way we're going to move forward together. It's going to take a lot of compromise. The decisions we make aren't always going to be the ones you like. That's called compromise. We have to work together. We have to give and take together in a positive way. So, thank you.
Tim Russert, the late moderator of Meet the Press, once said, "When I'm talking to a guest, I take the opposite position because if I don't, then the interview is meaningless." There is something to be said for being adversarial, not engaging in conflict for the sake of conflict, but for giving recognition to the fact that different groups of people have different interests. So for example, if I am talking to a member of the community, I might take the position that I'm representing the interests of the school district while talking to that community member. By contrast, if I'm talking to an administrator, I'm going to take the position of the community members. And that's how balance is struck. And that's how compromises are reached. I won't compromise on keeping these schools open, but pretty much everything else is in play. And I'm not afraid to match wits with administrators, but also don't be too surprised, some of you, if I take positions that some of you maybe don't agree with. And that's the compact between representatives and their constituents. It's that you elect people with whom you share experiences and values, but who are not only free to, but expected to, rely on their own judgment. And the compact also calls for replacing them if they don't exercise sound judgment. Thank you.
The last candidate for this question is Deborah A. Nelson.
I represent the kids in the long run to get a good education for what they want. And one of the things I want to share with you, on the school district website is our policy manual, and this is the policy number 150 that we have to abide by as a board. And it said the school board derives its authority to govern the local schools directly from the Wisconsin Constitution and state statutes. The board also recognizes it has an obligation to the community it serves and the persons it employs to discharge its duties and obligations in a fiscally responsible way and in a manner that will best provide for the academic achievement of all students in the district. The school board shall do things reasonable to promote the cause of education, including establishing and providing and improving school district programs, functions, and activities for the benefit of students. Specifically, the board shall perform the duties imposed upon the board by the statutes, including, but not limited to, levying taxes sufficient to support the schools, overseeing the repair and use of buildings, adopting policies necessary for the effective management of the district, approval of professional staff employment, adoption of academic standards, support of professional development, and properly managing school district funds. And I take that school district funds issue very seriously because there's only so many ways you can stretch that dollar. And I apologize if I came across angry in the last question, but it is frustrating when I want to hear the suggestions and ideas that people have, but it's frustrating at times when you're trying to deal with the state government, you're trying to deal with the local situations. I don't know how many of you realize our district, the equalized value per student in River Valley is higher than Wanakee. We're rich according to the state, and that's why we need to look at the school funding formula. But I want to make sure that all of our kids get an excellent education, and that's in the back of my mind on every decision I make, what's best for the kids. And am I spending the taxpayers' dollars wisely? Thank you.
Final question is same topic, independence of thoughts and actions. The first question, what are your hopes for the school district? What are your priorities for the district for the upcoming year and 3 years? Why and how did you select these issues? Our first candidate is Kathy Jennings.
My hopes for the school district. The kids are going to be okay. I want the parents to be okay. I want us to get together and be positive. That's what I would really like. What are my priorities for the school district in the upcoming year and the 3 years? Some of my priorities, like I mentioned before, are retaining our good teachers. I want River Valley to be a destination, not a stepping stone. I want to keep our good teachers here and support them professionally in their development. I like that we're keeping up with technology with our kids. That's important. Maintaining our buildings the best way we can within our budget. And I'd like to continue to offer our academic and co-curricular after-school programs to all our kids. Some of the decisions we made recently are going to help with that. don't want to cut anything, but we need to make some hard decisions. I want our education for our older kids to be just as good as our younger kids. Why and how did I select these issues? To me, they seem to be big issues. I'm also anyone, I would like to hear from them, come up to me, what about this issue? I'm willing to put other issues up there also. Back to my hopes for the school district. I think we can come together with this, and I just like us to be all more positive. And if you have questions, please ask. I know there's a lot of information out there, and if you have any questions about what's the correct information, please ask so that we don't get so angry and upset with each other. And if you want to know why we're making decisions, please ask. I don't want to see all this negativity continue. I think we're a great district, and I have high hopes for us coming together. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Carl J. Nelson.
I guess as far as hopes for the school district, let me tell you a little bit about my vision. I think to look forward, we need to spend some time looking backward. When a lot of people recently, in talking about these school closures, have compared them to closing the one-room schoolhouses. And I don't think that comparison really does hold up that well. Because when they closed these one-room schoolhouses in the early 60s, they didn't just build one big one-room schoolhouse in each of these communities, nor did they build one building with a bunch of one-room schoolhouses right side by side. They went to a model that was totally different for these communities. They went to graded classrooms. Now, there are some people who suggest that we should maybe go back to a model that more closely resembles that of the one-room schoolhouses, and I think they're partially right. They're right in the sense that I think that the model we're using now is nearing the end of its course. And education is going to change so radically over the next few years. I've often said that my 6-year-old son, the education he will receive will more closely resemble that of his grandfather's than it will resemble that his children will receive. And my hope for the school district is that we can be in the position, financially, culturally, and politically, to make the next big leap forward when that time comes. It may be 5 years, it may be 10 years, it may be longer, but I can guarantee you it will come. And I don't think closing these buildings at this time, and I can't see a scenario, honestly, where I could ever see the Arena and Lone Rock and Plain and Spring Green communities not having schools. I don't see how that would ever happen. But we need to have the support of these community members. And that's why closing these schools is not getting us down the right path, so that when the next leap forward, when the next big challenge comes, we can go to those voters and say, hey, we've got a new idea. We want to do something different, but we need X amount of dollars for that. We aren't even going to be able to pass a referendum, I don't think, to cover our operational deficits over the next few years. And that, to me, is a big problem. And that's my hope, that we can get that support back.
The next candidate is Deborah A. Nelson.
I thought a lot lately about what I hope for this district, and I guess I could summarize it in one sentence. I don't want a state-of-the-art elementary school or a state-of-the-art middle school or a state-of-the-art high school. I want a state-of-the-art school district for all of our kids. I want our kids to get an equal educational opportunity no matter where they are in the district. And with the limited dollars that we have, I think we really need to look seriously at our efficiencies and where we're going with it. My priorities are, again, to keep advancing the technology that we need to get for our schools. I'm excited that our administration right now is exploring the opportunity of making a STEM lab in the elementary school. A STEM lab, science, technology, engineering, and math. I know Arena Elementary is working really hard on that type of a program now, and we want to make that available to all of the kids in the district. And it would become something of a program similar to math, or not math, similar to music or art, where they would go a couple times a week specifically to the STEM lab to do projects, which would really be awesome for all of our kids. And I'm also excited about the proposed configuration in the middle school of the 5th and 6th graders together in one house and the 7th and 8th graders in another. The idea that we could move kids back into the elementary schools of those grades, we would lose our technology, the tech ed programs, agriculture, art, the way that the kids do it now, their computer classes. We wouldn't be able to provide those. We wouldn't have the dollars to do that kind of programming if we moved those kids out of the middle school. So I'm really excited about the future of our district. I think we are heading in the right direction with giving our kids the things that they need. Our high school kids right now, we can't afford to lose the programming that we do. We already have classes that our kids are taking at the high school, so when they go to college, they have that college credit available to them, and it's saving our families money so they don't have to pay for those college credits when they get to college. They've gotten them free or at a small reduced rate while they're still at the high school level. So I'm really excited about what we're doing in our district, and it will take a lot of work together, and my hope is that we can all put aside our differences and work for the kids. Thank you.
The next candidate is Jeff Flint.
My hopes for the future are that we could put a stake through the heart of this consolidation plan. Most people don't realize it, but there is so much research. It's not, nobody even questions it anymore. Consolidation was never a good idea. It is not going to save money. And I keep hearing this all over the place. It must be the most closely guarded secret in the world in this school district. But consolidation, especially if you're going to go on some big hub school spending spree, is the most expensive thing you could do. It's much cheaper to have our small elementary schools. Now, there's a big difference in reconfiguring, but my hopes are that we can take back control of the school district. The school board can. With a majority of 5 on the school board, we can put the administration back in its place. The school board is supposed to be coming up with the vision. It's supposed to be coming up with the goals, the plans for the school district by engaging the public. I think you all know what kind of community engagement you've had over the last 7 or 8 years. Then the school district takes that vision. This is what's important. We want this to be done. This is how it goes. And you say, administration, your job is to implement this. Because if you don't, how are you ever going to know if your school administrators actually know what they're doing or are doing their job since they created it? That is the problem we have right now. That's a biggie. And my hope would be that we can turn that around so the school board actually does its job, which is to come up with the vision, the plans for the district in conjunction with the people. And then the administration's job is to implement. Then you can say, you don't have the skills to do what we need. We need a different administrator. That's why we seem to be stymied here and caught in a morass. That's the problem. So my hope is that we can take this board with 5 members. We can vote to save these schools, put a stake through the heart of this consolidation nightmare, and start doing positive marketing, not negative. Because if you look at any book on how to market your school, they say your #1 marketing asset is your parents. How does everybody feel here? A little scared, a little betrayed, a little mad. What kind of message are you transmitting? And that's the problem too. I don't think we've ever done any kind of marketing. That's what you do about declining enrollment. Hello. What about economic development? We've got businesses here that we need to develop. Okay, I know in particular, Tom Porter would love to expand Lake Louie, but he has some zoning issues. Why aren't we working with him to do that? We need economic development plan so that we can know what kind of infrastructure we're going to need, what kind of power system.
Our next candidate is Jim Wensler.
Thank you again, everybody, for attending tonight, and I want to thank Grandma Mary's for the opportunity to be here today, and I want to thank the coordinator and the person who put it all together very much for allowing us to be here today to do this. My hope for the future is I hope to earn your vote. That's basically what it comes down to, and that's why I'm here today. And the first thing that I'm going to do when I'm able to get on the board is to vote to keep the elementary schools open. It is important to realize that I don't need to read Rule 150 to understand that if I can't come up with additional solutions, it's time for me to be replaced. It's something that's very important and dear to my heart, that if I can't serve you anymore and I'm not able to come up with solutions, I will no longer run for the board, or you'll vote me out and someone else will take my place. The other item is that some of the incumbents have said of the things that they will not touch, that there are certain items within the budget and in the school district that they will not touch. I'm not from that point of view. I believe that everything can be reviewed again, everything can be discussed, and that the community will decide what will stay and what will go. And then the one item that I believe is important is I want to ask a question, because I've heard from the incumbents where they said, talk to me, ask me questions. And one of the questions as a resident, not only a candidate, is would the incumbent Kathy Jennings and would the incumbent Deb Nelson be willing to change their vote to keep the schools open? Thank you very much. Have a pleasant night.
Our next candidate is Pamela Gauger.
Okay. My hopes for our district are that we're able to maintain a quality education for our students. I also hope that we're able to work together to bring positivity, teamwork, and make sure that the communities, Area 2, all the 4 communities excuse me, within our district are able to work together and to meet these issues. There are a lot of smart people in our communities. There are a lot of differing opinions, but I do believe that we can work together. My priorities are that the teachers are taken care of. I send my students to school with some amazing teachers, and sometimes they spend more time a day with their teacher than they do me. But I never worry that they're not taken care of or that their best interest isn't there. I also believe that I don't know the future. I don't know what's going to happen, but I am willing to work to make sure that all of you have your concerns met as well. None of us know what's going to happen, excuse me, but we do have to work together so that my questions are answered and your questions are answered. And then last but not least, that the kids are taken care of. Whether this reconfiguration for sure happens, or a different one, or another idea, or some hybrid model happens, we need to make sure that our kids are taken care of. The current configuration would mean that I would have a 6th grader and a 5th grader going to that new middle school together. It would be different than what I'm used to. It wouldn't be the middle school that I had. But I want to make sure that they're being taken care of because it's a big change for them. And I know many of you have concerns about 4K and K. I have the same ones, and I want to make sure that those questions are answered. So that's my hope for this district, is that we can constructively ask questions and get answers and work together to make it the best place we can.
Our next candidate is Ronald Miller.
Well, I say emergency SOS, save our schools. To keep everybody happy, I would say, let's borrow that money for 5 years to see where we are. Don't just shut us down cold. I mean, let's keep everybody happy for 5 years. I mean, let's borrow that money, because we don't know what enrollment's going to be in 5 years. We have no idea. Like I said, if it's closed, there's going to be kids gone. I mean, gone. And you know, yes, there's going to be cuts and there's going to be referendums. We know that. I mean, it's gonna happen. You know, and we want honest figures on what we need to do for these schools to keep them open. I mean, I think the figures are padded. I don't know. I haven't seen no papers or books, but, you know, and we should hire some local contractors. They know what things cost. Let them kind of figure out, we don't have to hire them, but let them figure out what we need to do to keep our schools open. You know, it's just sad that it's a done deal. Now, nobody said anything about closing Spring Green schools, you know, elementary and stuff. I'll bet the home news, you'd have to double the paper from letters to the editor. But, you know, I mean, we need to keep our schools open because it's a community, it's family-oriented, and that's the hub of the village. And without that, our taxes are going to go way up. And if they build this new complex that I've heard about, our taxes are going to go up way, way up. And, I mean, I worked for the union for, like I said, 30-some years. One year we had to take a pay cut, you know, 10% to get through that year. But we did. And when we got it back, but we're just happy to have a job, you know. It's just one thing, you know, it's just, let's not make a bad final decision and close our schools. I mean, let's just think about this and borrow that money for 5 years, make everybody happy, and we got 5 years to decide what we're going to do. Thank you.
Our final candidate for this question is Sierra Gilbertson-Stafford.
My priority for this next year is very simple. It's not going to be a simple process, but it's a very simple concept. I am going to ensure that in May, when I go in front of that board, I'm going to make sure that that decision to close our elementary schools is going to be nixed. We're going to spend a little bit of our money out of our savings fund, whatever you want to call it, to take a full year to really figure this out. This can't be the best decision, and so I think we need to take time to really look at history. What has already been looked at? Why did they choose not to take that path? Why did they choose that this is the best option? Because honestly, I think that's where it all begins. We need answers. We need to see the history. We need to have a better idea of where can we make our savings? How can we make this work? Because the what I'm resoundingly hearing is people are wanting to keep their schools open. And we have to find a way together to make that work. And we need time. We need time to do that. The second thing is I can't stand the busing. Hearing 76 minutes, a kid on a school bus, that's a huge issue for me. That is the reason why we can't send our 4 and our 5-year-olds up to Plain. They're the youngest one. The school district says they don't know the time concept. They're the best ones to bus. That's an excuse. That's a way to make your budget work. That's your philosophy and your way of thinking. As a parent, my child would not ride on that bus up to Plain at 4 or 5 years old. That's a concern to me. And some other people may not see that, but that's okay. That's where we talk about the compromise and talking about what's going to work as a group. The STEM, that was another thing I heard. STEM in Arena is across the board. It's not a study hall that you go into for 60 minutes and learn STEM. If you really understand the concept of STEM, it's throughout the whole school. It's from the minute they walk through the door till the time they leave. It's not a 15-minute thing. And priorities and dreams. I want my kids to get a good education. I want it to be in their hometown. I want them to be able to see when I drop my kids off, kids riding their bikes to the school or walking to school. That's what's important to me. That's what I want to see, is those kids walking to school or riding their bikes. The end.
All right. I would like to extend a thank you to Grandma Mary's for allowing us to have this forum today. So a round of applause for her. I would like to truly thank every candidate for coming today. I am so thankful that all of you came so all of you could be heard. I really appreciate that, and I'd also like to have a round of applause for the candidates. And lastly, thank you to everybody from the community. I see faces from everywhere here. Thank you so much for coming out today. It's appreciated. And this concludes our forum.
Hey Bart, good, how are you?